Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's BFN Kruma, your personal development coach, teaching people how to take complete control of their destiny. Whenever I got my whiteboard out, it's an exciting morning for me. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know, but man, I'm a huge nerd, man. That's why I got this bookshelf with all these books, man. I'm a huge nerd. I love to teach, but I really love to teach when I'm doing work on the whiteboard. So we're going to get into some really good stuff today. I'm going to be able to I'm going to be able to show you some of the things that I've been talking about how our brain works. Our theme for this morning is going to be solutions versus sadness. I know somebody might listen like, damn, ain't it in between somewhere? Like, why I gotta be solutions or sadness? Because that's how this thing works. Either you are using your brain to find solutions, or you're using your brain to stay exactly where you are. And 9 times out of 10, exactly where we are is not where we want to be. Most of us have dreams and aspirations. Most of us have a life that we actually want to grow into. But when we're not properly using our brain and not understanding how our brain works, I talked last week about the difference between your consciousness and your brain. Your consciousness, your soul is your suke. It's you. That's the essence of who you are. Your brain is a tool. Your brain is a tool that we need to understand how it works in order for us to use it for our benefit. So what we're talking about today, solutions versus, or what did I say, solutions or sadness. So when we are being optimistic, when we are thinking positive, when we are speaking positive, and this is what I've been really talking about a whole lot lately, is us speaking positive and being optimistic. Optimism triggers your left prefrontal cortex or your left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that looks for solutions. Now, when you're being pessimistic or you have negative self-talk, that triggers your right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is where like your emotions and everything is. You ever hear people talk about being left brain or right brain, people who are really rigid and logical, and then people who operate mostly from their emotions. What happens is when you are operating from that right prefrontal cortex and you're in those emotions, the emotions tend to be negative because that's why you're on that right side, because you're being pessimistic. You're thinking negative. You have some kind of down self-talk. You have some kind of doubt. You have some kind of fear. And then you begin to speak negatively and trigger the part of your brain that's just going to say, okay, all right, this is our goal. Because see, your brain does not care about how you use it. Does not care about the information that you put in. It's going to do what it was designed to do. So when you start putting in that pessimism and you start putting in that negative self-talk, your brain just grabs the information and says, oh, this is the goal. This is my person's goal. My person's goal is to recognize negativity. My person's goal is to recognize doubt. My person's goal is to recognize fear. And oh, well, what do those things make you feel? Okay, well, that's going to make me feel sad. That's going to make me feel rejected. That's going to make me feel worthless. So your brain is saying, okay, I got to do everything I can to make my person feel this way. I'm use this language a lot like that. Your brain saying my person. It's going to say, let me do everything that I can to make my person feel worthless. And this is how we end up in these ruts, because our brains connected to our bodies are literally working to make us feel bad. On the flip side, when we're being intentional about our optimism and we're being intentional about our self-talk and we're being intentional about being positive, we begin to trigger that left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And when you begin to trigger that part of your brain says, okay, well, how do I create solutions? Now it begins to say, all right, what can I do for my person to create the solution for whatever they're thinking about? Because they're being positive about the outcome of this situation. They're being positive about the outcome of their life. They're being positive about the outcome of what they're dealing with in the moment. So now it's my job. How do I make my person accomplish these goals? Now, this might sound really crazy, but this is like neuroscience 101. Like, this is real stuff. And when we don't understand how our brain works, how the systems of our brain work, we can't use it for our benefit. And when we don't understand it and don't use it for our benefit, 10 times out of 10, we are using it negatively, and it is affecting us. So, not the best artist in the world. I don't know how much of this you can see because of the lights, but I can see on the screen, I can see. So this is my attempt at drawing the solar system. I want you to think of your brain as your solar system. Now, each one of these would be what's called a synapse, and I'm going to get deeper into the synapse later. But these synapses, so this is, the sun and whatever, I don't know what planets are closer or whatever. I know Earth is third, so we got some smaller. Jupiter is the biggest. Saturn got rings. So we have all of these different synapses. Now, these all will represent something that is programmed in our mind, whether it's negative or positive. So now let's say the sun this is the biggest one, the sun. But let's say that's fear. So now the biggest thing in your mind is fear. So every time information comes to your mind, the first thing it's going to encounter is fear. Now, the smallest one here, now this is your optimism. Now, what do you think the information is going to hit first? The fear, because the fear is bigger. But this is what the power of positive self-talk and optimism actually does to your brain. What we can do, what makes this big is how much we think about it. And then the emotion that we tie to it. So the more you think about a thing and have an elevated emotion attached to it, the deeper the synapse get and the bigger the synapse get. But what happens is when I get intentional and I say over the next 2 months, I am not going to sit any extended time in fear. Over the next 2 months, I'm not going to spend any extended time feeling fear. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be intentional. The second I feel fear, I'm going to move myself into optimism. Guess what literally happens in your brain? The wiring begins to fail. Now, the longer you do it, now your fear becomes that small. And if I took my time to say, I'm going to be optimistic every day when I wake up in the morning, your optimism, literally, the neurons firing, creating the neural pathways, if this is what I've been focusing on every day, I'm literally changing the way my brain looks. Like literally, folks, from a neuroscience standpoint, if you really work on yourself over a 6-7 year period, you can get in a machine and your brain will look totally different than it looked 7 years prior. Because all of your cells rejuvenate in 7 years. And if you are intentional about upregulating all of your genes and upregulating your cells in 7 years, you are literally a new person. And I'm talking about a scientist. If you go get your brain scan today, you do the work, in 7 years, you go get another brain scan, they're going to say these are two different people. Like, this is real, I'm not lying to you. So we can begin to change this might be hope. Now hope is bigger. Saturn used to be doubt. Now doubt is smaller, and I'm changing my brain in order to make sure the only thing information hits are positive things and things that's going to lead to solutions that change my life. Okay? All right, so now let's get into these synapses. Let me show y'all how this works. So every thought, like we think about thoughts as words, because that's what, obviously we're not thinking about neuroscience. But thoughts are the firing of neurons in your mind. So boom, you have a thought. That's your thought. You have that same thought, you go back and have that same thought again. All right, boom. Another neuron fires. You go right back and you have that same thought again, and now you attach an emotion to it. Now, these two neurons connect. The saying is, neurons that fire together, wire together. You go back and you have that same thought. Another neuron fires, connects. Another neuron fires, connects. Another neuron fires, connects. Another neuron fires, connects. Every time you think about it, every single time you think about it, and then what you have is a big web in your brain. What you think about most, with that elevated emotion towards it, creates a huge web in your brain. So now we got an opportunity. So let's say this right here again is fear. Now, you don't really think about how great you really are, so you don't think you're that capable of creating the actual life that you want. So you just got one little network there. Now, here comes information, an opportunity. What is that information going to hit? It's going to hit the big web. It's like a spider web. Opportunity is going to hit your biggest web. So everything that comes through your mind is always going to hit the biggest web first. So whatever you think about the most and have an elevated emotion towards is what's going to create the deepest web. Not only is the information going to hit the web, but the biggest web is where you're most comfortable at. So even though you might not even recognize it, the reason why some folks are always talking about something bad that happened to them is because that's what makes them most comfortable. The reason why you fail at everything is because failure literally is what makes you the most comfortable. Because your brain's number one job is survival, physical, mental, emotional. And that emotional part is where things get tricky because it's trying to make you feel safe. And what is more safe than continually doing what you already know about? Attempting to hit a new goal, that's not safe because what if this happens and what if this happens? No, I already know how this feels, so I'm going to make sure you stay that way. So this is what's going on in our brains, y'all. And it's up to us to understand what's going on in our mind and to be able to use our brains. Do we want to have solutions or do we want to have sadness? Those are your options. Because if you're not working towards solutions, when you have problems, you're going to be sad. It's just no way around. You might have some happy days, some happy times, but when you sit down and think about life, you're going to have some sadness. Or you can choose in your mind, I'm gonna wake up every morning and say today is gonna be a good day. That's the start. That's the start right there. Wake up soon as you wake up in the morning. Today is gonna be a good day. I wonder what great things this day has in store for me. I know this stuff sounds corny, y'all, but it is what it is. Go grab any neuroscience book, they got to be new, those. the ones that have already have done the new studies to understand how self-talk actually affects the brain. Because the old books, they didn't have the studies done yet. So get you something new on how self-talk actually affects the brain. Literally, I'm teaching you what's in the books. But if you don't believe me, you can go to the books. What greatness does this day have in store for me today? Another thing, I always talk about, choose your emotion. How do you want to feel? Today, I want to feel joy. Be conscious of how you feel all day. Whenever something knocks you off your joy, recognize it. Ooh, take a deep breath. Think of something that's going to make me joyful. Get back into my joyful feeling. Don't allow anything to take me off of my square. The more you stay in that joyful, elevated emotion, the more you are programming your body to want to feel joy. So your body is responding to what your subconscious says. It's responding to that, it's responding to the idea of yourself that's in your subconscious. Not the idea you put out there on Instagram, but that what you really feel about yourself deep down. It's responding to that and making sure you stay that and become the best version of that. So if your subconscious view of yourself is negative, your body and your brain, your physics, everything in you is going to work to make sure you are the best version of the loser that you think you are. And I hope that doesn't make somebody feel like I'm attacking them. I want you to understand how real this is. Your entire genetic makeup. If you really feel like a loser deep down, your entire genetic makeup is coming together to say, how can we make my person the best loser ever? Or we can begin to change our self-perception. We can change our self-talk. We can move from pessimism to optimism, and we can begin to use the parts of our brain that's going to be beneficial for us. And then without you even consciously thinking, your brain, your body is going to be working for you to create solutions. And then you're going to just look up and, oh, shoot, I can just do this. That's where that stuff comes from. When you're just sitting around or you're even if you're contemplating something and then the thought comes to your head on how to fix it. Where did it come from? Your brain sent you that information. But this is how, what I'm talking about today is how we have that happening on a daily basis, where every day your brain is working to give you solutions to create the exact life that you believe that you deserve. Man, I really enjoyed teaching this morning, man. It's BF Nkrumah, your personal development coach. As always, I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 9.